People want to share a story, not just because it's a great story and they want their friends to read it. They want to share a story as a form of kind of social interaction. So I think for a story to be one that people want to share, it has to be something that articulates something that's, you know, it might be something about the zeitgeist, it might be something about how people are feeling, and expresses it in a very beautiful and eloquent way, so that by sharing it with their friends, they're actually talking about themselves and their own lives.
The thing that's really interesting is the difference between a story that will be extremely popular, as in the story that gets the most clicks on the day, and the story that is the most viral. It might not be the story that everybody clicks on. It might have significantly less readers, but that doesn't mean a story wasn't extremely popular with its readers, because there's a story that everyone wants to read, like Chappelle. Everybody wants to read about Chappelle, even though we're saying we're bored and we're tired of it. But then it won't be a story that'll get many social media shares, because it's kind of not really cool to share that on your page. It doesn't say much about me as a person. Whereas we might have a story, one of our biggest viral stories was why Australians hate thinkers, which is why there's sort of not enough academics in public life in Australia. That story was so viral. It was at 24,000 shares after a couple of weeks, because everyone wanted to kind of position themselves as somebody who's a thinker and cares about other thinkers. And that's the kind of story that will get a lot of traction on social media and a lot of attention. And I just always think it's fascinating to see what people are really reading versus what people are willing to share. And so that's a real guide for you when you're deciding what sort of story you're going to use. There's two kinds: the kind that everyone will click on and be reading secretly, and the kind of story that people will be proud to be reading and therefore will share.
I think to make a story shareable, you really just need to ask yourself about the story and ask yourself a few questions, and those questions would be, you know, am I interested enough in this to want to share it with my friends? Did it entertain me? Did it inform me? Did it provide me with something I didn't know before, and something I want other people to know? Did it amuse me? Did it make me laugh? And I want to make other people laugh by sharing it with them.
The audience is really in control of when they watch something, how they watch something, and on which platform they watch something. That's going to be the same for journalism and news content overall. So that can't be ignored. So what's going to be really important for journalism is to be constantly working in a way that's going to be agile, looking at new ways of technology that people are consuming content, technology platforms, seeing how that's evolved over the years. And being able to adapt to that and quickly is going to ensure your success.
I think that what makes a story shareable is a variety of things, and they all have to, and it all comes down to, I guess, to emotion. What makes a story shareable for me is emotion. Whether that emotion is disgust, you will not believe what this guy had just, what this woman pilot, this horrible note this woman pilot received from a passenger. Horror. Whether it's fear, check out the latest, you know, conspiracy theories for this airline crash. Surprise! You will not believe how many times have we seen a web article that says, "You will not believe what happens in this video." So, a story is shareable when it provokes an emotion, and I think in journalism we're often surprised by the things that do provoke that emotion.
For a story to be shared, it really needs to provoke a strong emotion in somebody. And generally it's one of 4 loose categories of emotion that we see most shared stories fitting into. And there's 2 positive emotions and 2 negative. The first one is awe. If something inspires awe in somebody, which is you know, a feeling of something beautiful or inspirational, they're going to want to share that on. Number 2 is surprise. Whether it's new information about an old topic or whether it's something that's just a piece of useful information, perhaps life hacking or something like that. Something that's really unexpected. That's a very strong emotion, and people will share a story that taps into that. The third one is anger. People will share something that makes them feel that there's injustice. And then the fourth one is anxiety. It's different to anger. It's something that people want to warn their friends and network about, something that's concerning and worrying, and they want to share that information on. So it's strange, but if you look at any most shared list, you can see that almost any story on that list will fall into one or more, most likely more, of those categories.
I think a story is shareable when it's something that people would tell their friends in a cafe. So, you watch the morning TV, you might go in and watch morning breakfast TV, and you see something that's just shocking or interesting or unique. I think they're sort of the things that make something shareable. There's no sort of secret to something going viral. It's sort of like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. There's no sort of magic formula that you can throw together. But I think if you've got some content that's newsworthy and recent, that it's something that people want to tell others about, and it's got some sort of unique or creative angle that no one else has sort of explored before, or presents information in a new and different way that people haven't really considered in that context.
So when it comes to shareability, which is a buzzword at the moment, there's just a certain magic element about stories that makes them shareable, and sometimes it's very predictable. So if there is a phenomenon like the no makeup selfies thing that happened on Facebook, and you do a story about that, you know it will be shared because it's all over everyone's Facebook newsfeed already, so there's already the conversation happening. Then you'll have a story that's controversial. So during the Royal Tour, Kate Middleton's skirt blew up in New Zealand, and we did a story about that, showed a photo of her skirt blowing up. All you could see was a bit of thigh, and she had stockings on anyway. Like, I didn't think it was offensive, but obviously that's controversial, so people will share that because they'll probably share it being angry about us, but they'll still share it. And then you get some stories that you just don't expect to be shared that do. So we had a story about a year ago that was about body image. A journalist had written about, actually an Australian journalist, had written about the way her mother viewed her body and how her mother's negative body image affected her. And I just thought it was a really good read. I didn't really think it was going to be a story that rated really well, but you've got to have that balance, you've got to have worthy stories as well as rating stories. So I put it up, and about 3 days later, or 2 days later, it was still in the top 3 stories on the whole site because it had been shared on Facebook. And I had personally seen maybe 10 of my friends sharing it on Facebook. So it just struck a chord. So sometimes you'll get something that just people relate to and they feel is important to share. So I think there's lots of different elements that make a story shareable.
I think the fact that people would share things to make themselves look more intelligent is completely true. I think a lot of it is actually interesting looking at those kind of stats that we have access to. I think a lot of the things that people do share are things like recipes from food. And obviously that's a memory thing and having it somewhere as much as anything else. But I think you're right. A lot of the things that we also do see shared are well-being articles. So I guess that comes down to helping, guiding someone else with what they know or have learned or whatever.